Every 27 seconds, someone over 60 in the United States visits an emergency room because of a fall. That's not a typo. Every 27 seconds. And here's what makes it worse. Nearly half of those falls happen inside the home, in places we consider safe. The bathroom, the bedroom, the kitchen at breakfast. But what if the real problem isn't weak bones or bad luck? What if it's something nobody talks about, something that starts breaking down in your brain and inner ear around age 55, and by the time you're 70 it's already cost you 30% of the balance system you were born with? Now before you think this is another lecture about calcium or yoga mats, let me stop you. What I'm about to share comes from a discovery made in a small clinic outside Kyoto, where physical therapists noticed that elderly patients who practiced one specific 3-minute movement every morning had 40% fewer falls over 2 years compared to those who didn't. 40%. And when researchers dug into the data, they found something unsettling. This technique had been documented in Japanese medical journals for nearly 15 years, but almost no one in the Western world was talking about it. Because it's so simple, so low-tech, that it doesn't fit into our pharmaceutical model. There's nothing to sell. No prescription to write. Just 3 minutes and your own 2 feet. I'm going to walk you through this technique in detail, and I'll show you exactly how to do it safely even if you haven't exercised in years. But first, I need you to understand what's really happening inside your body right now, because once you see the hidden system that governs your balance, everything changes. And here's the thing. I'm going to reveal 3 discoveries today, each one building on the last. Number 3 is going to surprise you. Number 2 is going to make you question why your doctor never mentioned it. And number 1, the technique itself, is so effective and so ignored that when I first saw the data I thought it had to be a mistake. It wasn't. But let's start with what they don't tell you about balance after 60. You probably think balance is about strength, right? Strong legs, strong core, you stay upright. That's what we've been taught. And it's partially true. But strength is only about 20% of the equation. The other 80% comes from 3 systems most people have never even heard of. Your vestibular system, which lives in your inner ear and detects motion and gravity. Your proprioceptive system, which is a network of sensors in your muscles and joints that tell your brain where your body is in space. And your visual system, which you already know about but probably don't realize how much your brain relies on it to keep you steady. These 3 systems send signals to your brain every fraction of a second, and your brain integrates them into one coherent sense of where you are and whether you're about to tip over. Now here's the problem. Starting around age 55, all 3 systems begin to degrade. The hair cells in your inner ear, the ones that detect motion, start dying off. You lose about 6% of them per decade. Your proprioceptors, those sensors in your muscles, become less sensitive. The nerve signals slow down. And your vision, well, we all know that gets worse. But here's what's insidious. Your brain is incredibly good at compensating. It hides the problem from you. You don't feel unsteady at first. You just start making tiny adjustments. You hold the railing a little tighter. You avoid walking on uneven ground. You turn your whole body instead of just your head. And you tell yourself it's normal aging. But it's not normal. It's a system breaking down, and if you don't intervene, the breakdown accelerates. Let me paint you a picture. There's a woman I guided named Carol, 72, retired schoolteacher from Ohio. She loved gardening. Spent hours outside every weekend, kneeling in the dirt, planting tomatoes and roses. But about 3 years ago she started noticing that when she stood up from kneeling, she felt dizzy for a second or two. Just a brief moment of vertigo. She ignored it. Then one Saturday morning she stood up from weeding, took a step, and fell forward into a clay pot. Broke 2 ribs and fractured her wrist. 6 weeks in a brace. When she came to see me, she was terrified to garden again. Terrified to kneel. Terrified, really, to move. And when I tested her balance, here's what I found. Her vestibular system was functioning at about 50% of normal for her age. Her proprioception was even worse. She could barely stand on 1 foot for 3 seconds. But the tragedy was that none of this had to happen. If she had known about the system, if she had done one simple 3-minute practice every morning, her brain would have stayed sharp, her sensors would have stayed active, and that fall would never have occurred. So what happened to Carol? I taught her the technique I'm about to teach you, and I had her do it every single morning before breakfast. 3 minutes. That's it. Within 2 weeks, she could stand on one foot for 12 seconds. Within 6 weeks, she was back in the garden, kneeling and standing without fear. And here's the kicker, her balance kept improving. At 3 months, she tested better than women 10 years younger. Her brain had rewired itself. The sensors had woken up. And all it took was 3 minutes a day of targeted movement that her nervous system desperately needed but wasn't getting. Now before I show you the technique, let me ask you something, and I want you to comment below with your answer because this is important. How old are you, and have you noticed any changes in your balance over the last 5 years? Maybe you feel a little unsteady in the dark. Maybe you've had a close call, a moment where you almost fell but caught yourself. Write it down. Age and yes or no. Because once you see how common this is, you'll realize you're not alone, and more importantly, you'll realize it's fixable. Alright, discovery number 3. This is the one that surprised me when I first learned it, and it's going to change how you think about exercise. Ready? The single most effective way to improve balance after 60 is not strength training. It's not walking. It's not even yoga, though yoga helps. The single most effective method is something called vestibular rehabilitation, and specifically, a subset of it that focuses on gaze stabilization and dynamic head movement. Now let me translate that. Vestibular rehabilitation is just a fancy term for exercises that wake up your inner ear and force your brain to recalibrate its sense of motion. Gaze stabilization means training your eyes to stay locked on a target while your head moves. And dynamic head movement means exactly what it sounds like. Moving your head in specific patterns while your body stays still or while you're walking. Why does this work? Because your vestibular system, that inner ear balance system, operates on a principle called use it or lose it. If you stop moving your head in varied directions, if you stop challenging your sense of motion, the system atrophies. The hair cells stop firing. The neural pathways weaken. But if you reintroduce those movements, if you give your brain the input it's craving, the system rebounds. Studies from major balance disorder clinics have shown that people who do vestibular exercises for just 10 minutes a day can reduce their fall risk by 30 to 50% within 8 weeks. 30 to 50%. And yet almost no one over 60 is doing them because nobody's talking about it. Here's the thing, your doctor probably won't mention this unless you've already fallen and been referred to a physical therapist. Because it doesn't fit the standard model. There's no pill, no injection, no surgical procedure. It's just movement. And movement doesn't generate revenue. So it stays hidden in the PT clinics, known to specialists but invisible to the general public. That's the gap I'm trying to close today. Let me give you an example. There's a man named Richard, 68, former electrician from Michigan. He came to me after his wife noticed he was bumping into door frames. Not every time, but enough that she got worried. He thought maybe his vision was off, so he got new glasses. Didn't help. Then he started feeling dizzy when he turned his head quickly, like when he checked his blind spot while driving. That scared him. He went to his doctor, who ordered an MRI, checked for stroke, found nothing. The doctor said, "It's probably just age-related. Be careful." That was it. No follow-up. No rehab. Just be careful. Richard found me through a friend, and when I assessed him, it was clear. His vestibular system was lagging. His eyes couldn't track smoothly when his head moved. So I taught him a simple gaze stabilization exercise. He sat in a chair, held his thumb out at arm's length, and stared at his thumbnail. Then he turned his head left and right, keeping his eyes locked on the thumb. 20 repetitions, twice a day. That's it. Took 90 seconds. Within 1 week, the dizziness cut in half. Within 3 weeks, gone. He could check his blind spot without vertigo. He could turn quickly without bumping into things. His wife said it was like having the old Richard back. And all it took was 90 seconds of intentional head movement, twice a day, to wake up a system that had been slowly shutting down. Now, you might be thinking, if it's that simple, why isn't everyone doing it? Great question. The answer is twofold. First, most people don't know they need it until after they fall, and by then the fear has set in. Second, even when people learn about it, They don't stick with it because they don't feel the results right away. It's not like taking a painkiller where you feel better in 30 minutes. This is neuroplasticity. It's your brain rewiring itself. That takes days, sometimes weeks. But if you trust the process and do the work, the results are undeniable. Alright, let's go deeper. Discovery number 2. This is the one that's going to make you question why your doctor never brought it up, and honestly, it made me frustrated when I first realized how overlooked it is. Here it is. The reason most balance programs fail for people over 60 is because they focus on static balance, standing still on one foot or balancing on a foam pad, when what you actually need is dynamic balance, the ability to stay steady while moving, while turning your head, while reacting to unexpected shifts. Static balance is useful. I'm not dismissing it. But it's not where falls happen. Falls happen when you're walking and you trip on a rug. When you turn your head to look at something and your body sways. When you step off a curb and your foot lands unevenly. Those are dynamic moments, and if you're only training static balance, you're preparing for the wrong test. The Japanese researchers who developed the technique I'm about to share understood this. They observed that elderly people in rural Japan, people who walked on uneven paths every day, who worked in gardens and rice fields, had significantly better balance than elderly people in cities who walked on flat sidewalks and stayed indoors. The difference wasn't strength. It was variability. The rural folks were constantly adjusting, constantly challenging their vestibular and proprioceptive systems with unpredictable terrain. Their brains stayed sharp because the environment demanded it. So the researchers asked, how do we replicate that for someone who lives in a city apartment? How do we create that variability in a controlled, safe way? And that question led them to develop a 3-minute protocol that combines gaze stabilization, weight shifting, and head movement in a sequence that mimics the neural challenge of walking on uneven ground. Now, Western medicine eventually caught on, but it took years. And even now, if you go to a standard physical therapy clinic in the US, you might get balance exercises, but they're often generic. Stand on one foot. Walk heel to toe. Close your eyes. Those are fine. But they're not targeted. They're not addressing the vestibular system directly. The Japanese protocol does. It forces your inner ear to work. It forces your eyes and your head to move independently. It forces your brain to integrate conflicting signals and figure out where you are in space. That's why it works so much faster and so much better. Let me tell you about Margaret, 75, retired nurse from Florida. She'd been doing balance exercises for months. Her daughter bought her a balance board, one of those wobbly platforms. Margaret used it every day, 5 minutes, standing in her living room. And she got better at standing on the board. But one evening she got up from the couch, turned to grab her phone, and stumbled. Caught herself on the coffee table, but it shook her. She realized the balance board wasn't translating to real life. That's when she found my videos and learned about dynamic balance. I had her stop using the board and start doing the 3-minute protocol instead. The protocol included head turns, weight shifts from foot to foot, and gaze locking while moving. Real-world movements. Within 10 days, she told me she felt more stable walking around the house. Within a month, she took a trip to visit her grandkids and navigated airports and uneven sidewalks with confidence she hadn't felt in years. The difference? She was finally training the system her body actually uses in daily life. So here's the principle: balance is not a static skill. It's a dynamic, reactive process that happens in milliseconds, and if you want to protect yourself from falls, you need to train the dynamic system. That means movement. That means variability. That means challenging your brain, not just your muscles. Now let me pause and ask you this, and I want you to comment below. Have you ever done any balance exercises, and if so, did they help or did you feel like they didn't quite translate to real life? Be honest. Because understanding where the gaps are is the first step to filling them. Alright, here we go. Discovery number 1. The technique itself. This is the 3-minute protocol that was developed in Japan, refined over years of clinical observation, and quietly published in journals that most Western doctors never read. I'm going to walk you through it step by step, and I want you to know that this is safe even if you haven't exercised in years. But I also want you to promise me something. The first time you do this, do it near a wall or a sturdy counter so you can reach out if you need to. Don't be a hero. Be smart. The protocol has 3 phases, each lasting 1 minute. Phase 1 is gaze stabilization with head rotation. Phase 2 is weight shifting with visual tracking. Phase 3 is dynamic stepping with directional head turns. Let's break them down. Phase 1, gaze stabilization with head rotation. Stand with your feet shoulder width apart, knees slightly soft, not locked. If you need to, stand near a counter and rest one hand on it lightly. Now, pick a spot on the wall in front of you, something small, a picture frame, a light switch, anything. Lock your eyes on that spot. Keep your eyes on it, don't let them drift. Now, slowly turn your head to the right, just 30 degrees, like you're looking over your shoulder but not all the way. Keep your eyes on that spot. Your eyes and your head are moving in opposite directions for a split second, and that's what wakes up your vestibular system. Hold for 1 second, then turn your head back to center. Now turn to the left, same thing, 30 degrees, eyes stay on the spot. Back to center. That's 1 repetition. Do 10 repetitions, left and right, and it will take about 45 seconds. If you feel dizzy, slow down. If you feel very dizzy, stop and try again tomorrow. Dizziness is normal at first. It means the system is waking up. But it should be mild, not overwhelming. Phase 2, weight shifting with visual tracking. Stay standing in the same position, feet shoulder width apart. Now hold your right arm out in front of you at shoulder height, thumb up, like you're hitchhiking. Look at your thumbnail. Shift your weight onto your right foot, so your left foot is still on the ground but most of your weight is on the right. As you shift, move your right arm slowly to the right, and follow your thumb with your eyes. Your head turns, your weight shifts, your eyes track. Move your arm about 45 degrees to the right, then bring it back to center and shift your weight back to both feet. Now do the same thing to the left. Left arm out, weight onto the left foot, arm moves left, eyes follow. Back to center. That's 1 repetition. Do 10 repetitions, alternating right and left. This takes about 1 minute. What you're doing here is linking weight shift with visual tracking and head movement. That's a real-world skill. That's what happens when you turn to look at something while walking. Phase 3, dynamic stepping with directional head turns. This is where it gets interesting. Stand near your counter or wall for safety. You're going to march in place, lifting your knees to a comfortable height, nothing crazy. As you march, turn your head to the right with each right step, and to the left with each left step. So right knee up, head turns right. Left knee up, head turns left. Keep a steady rhythm. Your eyes can follow your head, that's fine, or you can try to keep them forward for an extra challenge. Do this for 1 minute. If marching feels too hard, just step in place, shifting weight from foot to foot without lifting your knees. The key is the head turn coordinated with the step. That coordination is what trains your brain to stay balanced while moving and looking around, which is exactly what you need in daily life. That's it. 3 phases, 1 minute each, 3 minutes total. You can do this every morning before breakfast, or every evening before bed, whichever fits your routine. Consistency is everything. Your brain needs repetition to build new pathways. If you do this 6 days a week, you will notice a difference in 2 weeks. If you do it every single day, you'll notice it sooner. Now let me tell you about James, 71, retired mechanic from Oregon. James had fallen twice in 1 year. Once getting out of the shower, once going down his porch steps. He was terrified of falling again, so he stopped doing things he loved. Stopped hiking. Stopped working on his old truck in the garage. His world got smaller. His daughter showed him my video on this technique, and he was skeptical. He said, 3 minutes? That's it? But he tried it. Every morning, right after coffee. In the first week, nothing dramatic. But he stuck with it. By week 2, he realized he wasn't grabbing the railing on the stairs anymore. By week 4, he felt confident enough to walk on the gravel path to his mailbox without fear. By 3 months, he was back in the garage, bending and turning and working under the hood, moving in ways he hadn't moved in over a year. He told me, I didn't realize how much I'd stopped living until I started living again. And all it took was 3 minutes a day. Here's why this works on a deeper level. Every time you do this protocol, you're sending a flood of signals from your inner ear, your eyes, and your muscles into your brain. Your brain has to process those signals, compare them, and figure out where you are in space. That processing strengthens the neural pathways. It's like retraining a muscle, except you're retraining your nervous system. And just like a muscle, the nervous system responds to progressive challenge. As you get better, you can make it harder. Close your eyes during phase 1 for a few repetitions. Stand on a pillow during phase 2. March faster in phase 3. The technique scales with you. But here's the thing, and this is critical, you can't skip days and expect it to work. Your brain needs consistent input. If you do this 3 days 1 week and then skip a week, you lose momentum. The pathways start to fade again. But if you do it every single day, the results compound. Week 1 you might not feel much. Week 2 you feel a bit steadier. Week 4 you realize you're moving with confidence you haven't had in years. Week 8 your family notices. They say, "You seem stronger." And it's not strength. It's integration. It's your brain doing what it was designed to do but had stopped doing because you stopped giving it the input it needed. Now let me add one more layer. This technique is powerful on its own, but it's even more powerful when you combine it with 2 other simple habits. First, walk outside on varied terrain whenever you can. Gravel. Gentle slopes. Your brain craves variability. Second, practice standing on one foot while you brush your teeth. 30 seconds on each foot, morning and evening. That's static balance, yes, but it complements the dynamic work. Think of it as a full system tune-up. The 3-minute protocol is the engine. Walking on varied terrain is the fuel. Standing on one foot is the maintenance. Together, they create a balanced system that can rival someone 10 or 15 years younger. And here's something I want you to remember. Falls are not inevitable. We've been conditioned to think that getting older means getting fragile, but that's not true. What's true is that systems degrade when they're not used. But when you use them, when you challenge them, they respond. Your brain at 70 has the same capacity for neuroplasticity as your brain at 50. It just needs the right input. And this 3-minute protocol is that input. So let me ask you one final question, and I want you to comment with your answer because this is how we build a community of people who refuse to accept fragility as the default. Which part of this protocol are you going to start with tomorrow morning? And what are you hoping it will help you do that you've been afraid to try lately? Maybe it's walking on the beach. Maybe it's playing with your grandkids. Maybe it's just feeling steady in your own home. Write it down. Make it real. Because when you commit publicly, even in a comment, you're far more likely to follow through. And I want you to follow through. I want you to experience what Carol and Richard and Margaret and James experienced. I want you to reclaim your confidence, your movement, your life. 3 minutes. That's all it takes. Starting tomorrow.